The screen over the packing station went solid red. Not a bit behind. Not couple of orders waiting. Red, like a warning light on a sinking ship. And the person responsible for saving it looked straight at me and said, "Go do your job." So I did. This happened back in 2018 when I was working weekends at a KFC in the UK. Anyone who's ever done fast food knows there's a point during rush hour where the restaurant stops feeling like a workplace and starts feeling like a battlefield. Especially if your store sits on a busy street and people funnel in like you're handing out free food. I only worked weekends because that's when the place got absolutely slammed, and because that was the only time I wasn't buried in university work. On the worst days, we'd serve around 1,000 customers in a 12-hour shift, and half of them would hit in these brutal waves where you barely had time to breathe, let alone think. I worked front of house. That meant I was the human duct tape holding everything together. At any given moment, I could be doing one job, two jobs, or all of them at once. Taking orders, answering questions and complaints, packing food when the line got too wild, making ice cream and milkshakes, handing out orders and calling numbers. If you've never worked it, you might assume handing out orders is easy. It can be, when everything is running smoothly. You stand there, call a number, pass the bag, repeat. That's why tired people love that station. When you're fried after hours of chaos, it feels like the closest thing to rest you can get without actually sitting down. Most of the time, during the rush, we'd try to run the front like a machine. 2 people on tills, 2 people packing, 1 person on the handoff station calling numbers. When we had the staff, it worked. When we didn't, it turned into a mess fast. I'd been there about 4 months when one of the older employees came back. Let's call her Lisa. She'd worked there before I ever showed up, so she knew everyone already. She also happened to be attractive, and I'm mentioning that because it mattered later whether I liked it or not. Before Lisa came back, my time there was honestly great. I got along with everyone. I'm pretty social, and I tend to bring energy into a room even when I'm exhausted. The manager liked me. The team liked me. They teased me constantly in that normal fast food way, calling me skinny, joking about how I moved like a hummingbird, making fun of how I never stopped talking. It was the kind of teasing where you can tell it's not cruel. It's how people bond when they're stuck in the same chaos for 12 hours. Lisa didn't like it. Not because it was mean, because she hated that I was in the middle of the group. She hated that people laughed around me. She hated that I had attention, and that I didn't even seem to be trying for it. And I didn't clock any of this at first. I just thought she was quiet, maybe tired, maybe having a bad day. Then came that Saturday. I walked in and checked the board and saw I'd been assigned to the handoff station, the job where you call the order numbers and deal with missing items or confused customers. I didn't complain. The day before had been brutal for me outside of work, and I was honestly relieved to have a station that might let me catch my breath. For the first 6 hours, I ran that station. I was calling numbers, handing out orders, fixing small errors, calming down customers who were already angry before they walked in. Standard stuff. Then the first half shift started ending, and we were in that awkward transition period before the second wave of staff arrived. If you've worked fast food, you know that gap. It's when everything can slip, because the rush doesn't care that your schedule is changing. So I started floating, helping wherever I could. Not heroically, just, you see a gap, you fill it. That's how you survive. Then Lisa came in for the second half of the day, and the manager put her on packing. Packing is not cute work. Packing is where your soul goes to die. You're trying to build orders at speed while the tickets keep printing and the screen keeps filling and customers keep staring at you like you personally designed the concept of waiting. That station usually had at least 2 people, sometimes 3 during a heavy rush. But that day we were understaffed, and Lisa got put there alone. I remember thinking, that's rough, but she's worked here before. Maybe she can handle it. And the timing was almost comical. Rush hour started the exact moment she clocked in. No warm-up, no let me settle, just straight into the storm. People poured in, orders stacked, the noise level rose, the kitchen started shouting, the front started snapping, and Lisa came in already in a bad mood, like she didn't want to be there, like the world owed her an apology for having to do her job. There's an important detail here. Right above the packing station, we had a big screen visible to customers. It displayed the queue, order numbers, details, and a timer. Every order had a timer that should never go past 7 minutes. If it did, it turned red. Red meant, hurry up or the whole place is about to explode. Normally, the screen shouldn't show more than 7 orders waiting. That was the unofficial healthy limit. Technically, it could display 15. And once you hit 15, you're not busy. You're drowning. Lisa tried. I'll give her that. She was grabbing bags, stuffing items in, spinning, grabbing drinks, trying to keep up. But the rush didn't care that she was alone. The orders started multiplying. People started crowding the front. The queue climbed. The timers turned orange, then red. Then the screen started filling with red like a warning sign in a video game. Then it happened. The screen went past 15 orders, past what customers could even fully see. Orders were stacking so hard that some were dropping off the visible area at the bottom. And the dining area shifted from busy to tense. You can feel it when a crowd turns. People stop chatting. They start staring. The air gets heavy. Someone complains. Then another. Then one person raises their voice, and it unlocks everyone else's permission to be angry. One of my coworkers leaned toward me and said, basically, help her. You're on the easiest station right now. And he wasn't wrong. Compared to packing during a crush, calling numbers can feel lighter. So I stepped over. Not dramatically, not with a big announcement. I just moved in beside Lisa, grabbed a stack of bags, and started packing. Fast, efficient, quiet. I was thinking like a teammate. If we clear the queue, everyone wins. Lisa froze, like I'd slapped her. She stopped moving entirely, turned her head slowly, and stared at me with this hard, hostile look. Not stress, not panic, pure attitude. Then she said, loud and sharp, "Go do your job." I blinked. I actually thought I misheard. I tried to keep it friendly because, why wouldn't I? We're drowning. This isn't the moment for ego. I said something like, "It's getting heavy. I can help clear this. We're stacking up." She didn't even pretend to consider it. Her eyes narrowed like she was offended I existed within her space. I could feel customers watching us. I could feel the tension rising. And I didn't want to argue right there because the business was already slipping. So I decided I'd go ask the manager what he wanted. Because if Lisa was about to have a meltdown, I'd rather have backup now than after the entire queue collapsed. I turned like I was going to walk away. And that's when Lisa hit me with the line that changed everything. She said, dripping with disgust, "I don't know why you're trying so hard to work next to me, but it's honestly really creepy. You should stop." It took my brain a second to process it. Creepy? I wasn't flirting. I wasn't hovering. I wasn't touching her. I wasn't even talking beyond "we need to clear the queue." I was working. And suddenly she wasn't seeing me as a coworker. She was seeing me as a guy trying to get close to her. Like she'd decided I was some desperate simp based on absolutely nothing, and now she was shutting it down. For context, I'm average looking, nothing special. Definitely not the type of guy she'd ever pay attention to outside of work. And that's fine. I didn't care, but she clearly assumed I cared. Like she thought the only possible reason I'd help was because I wanted her. It was insanely disrespectful. Not just to me, but to the job, to the team, to everyone standing there waiting while we fell behind. And the second I realized that's what was happening, something in me went cold. The helpful instinct? Gone? The team-first energy? Gone? The let's push through together vibe? Deleted. Because if helping her meant she'd spin it into some gross story about me being creepy, then I wasn't putting myself in that position. I stepped back. Calm, no drama. I went right back to my station. And I smiled to myself because I knew exactly what was about to happen. For the next 30 minutes, the restaurant turned into a full-blown disaster. The screen didn't just stay over 15 orders, it exploded. It was packed with so many orders you couldn't even see half of them. Everything below the visible list was basically a graveyard of tickets waiting to be acknowledged. Customers started clustering, hungry, irritated, watching the screen like it was a scoreboard. And Lisa, alone at packing, started panicking. She began moving like a trapped animal, grabbing bags, throwing items in, yanking drinks, slamming lids, dropping fries on the floor, forgetting items, mixing up orders, sending the wrong bag out, and then scrambling when someone came back angry. I was still calling numbers and handing out what did get completed. And every time I handed something out late, I got hit with complaints. Why is it taking so long? This is ridiculous. My food's cold. You've messed up my order. And here's the crazy part. The customers could see the screen, they could see the timers, they could see we were underwater, and they could see me doing my job. So most of them didn't aim their anger at me personally. It became this silent, shared understanding between me and the customers. This isn't his fault, and I'm not proud of this, but I was smiling. Not because I enjoyed people being angry. I hated that for the business. I hated that for my coworkers. I hated hearing the kitchen get dragged into it even though they were doing their part. But I enjoyed one thing. I enjoyed watching Lisa experience the consequences of her own attitude, without me lifting a finger to save her. She started tossing bags toward my side like she wanted me to fix her mistakes while still pretending she didn't need help. She'd shove a bag out, realize it was wrong, yank it back, spill fries, curse under her breath, look around like the universe was betraying her. Then a customer would complain that their burger was in someone else's bag and demand a refund. Then someone else would say their food was cold and demand a fresh one. And the kitchen, who had been making food on time, now had to remake orders because Lisa had scrambled the output. That meant extra waste, extra stress, extra shouting, all because one person couldn't handle the station and refused help. Every minute she stayed alone at packing, the entire business got slower. And nobody stepped in. Because everyone saw what she did. Everyone heard creepy. Nobody wanted to be the next story she told. At one point, I walked into the kitchen to grab something. Maybe sauces, maybe lids. And I caught a glimpse of Lisa from the side. She looked wrecked. The kind of stress where your face goes tight, your hair starts falling out of place, your hands shake, and your eyes go wild. I could practically feel the heat radiating off her panic. Back at the front, the complaints kept coming, and I kept managing them. Calm voice. Customer service smile. I was good at that part. I'd learned to be. Then my assistant manager, someone I actually liked, someone I was close with, came out to the handoff station looking confused and alarmed. He leaned in and asked, "What's going on? Why aren't you helping her?" I didn't whisper. I spoke clearly, loud enough that nearby customers could hear because I wanted it on record. I said, "I tried. She told me to go do my job. Then she said me working next to her was creepy and I should stop." The assistant manager's face tightened instantly. Not surprise, not confusion, recognition, like, oh, so it's one of those. He didn't argue with me, he didn't lecture, he didn't say I was being petty. He just turned around and walked straight to packing and started helping her himself. 5 minutes later, another senior staff member stepped in, took one look at the chaos and made a decision. He pulled Lisa off packing and sent her into the kitchen. Not gently, just, "Move, you're on burgers." And in under 10 minutes, 10, once competent hands were on the station, the screen started clearing. Orders moved, timers dropped, the red disappeared, the crowd cooled down, the restaurant started breathing again. That's how obvious it was. It wasn't hard luck. It wasn't bad timing. It was her. And the best part, once the mess was under control, they put me on packing. Because I was fast, because I didn't freeze, because I could do it under pressure without turning the whole front into a disaster. Lisa stayed in the kitchen, cooking burgers near the fryer, in the heat, sweating through her makeup, getting yelled at by managers, having to face the reality that her "I'm too good for this" attitude didn't matter when the rush hit. At one point, I walked back to the kitchen and glanced over, just once. She was hunched over, face red, shoulders tight, and I couldn't tell if what was running down her face was sweat or tears. She looked up and saw me, and the look in her eyes, pure humiliation, was honestly the most satisfying thing I'd felt at that job. Not because I wanted her to suffer, because she had looked at me like I was beneath her, like I was some creep for doing my job, like my effort wasn't professionalism. It was desperation. And now she'd learned something in front of a full dining area of angry customers. Rush hour doesn't care if you're pretty. Rush hour doesn't care who you think you are. Rush hour only cares if you can do the work. After that day, Lisa was never again left alone unpacking during peak hours. Ever. Not once. And her attitude toward me shifted overnight. She suddenly wanted to be friendly. Suddenly she laughed at my jokes. Suddenly she tried to act like we were cool. But I changed too. I never helped her on my own initiative again. Not unless she asked directly, clearly, respectfully. Because I wasn't giving her any opportunity to twist helping into creepy ever again. If she wanted teamwork, she could use her words. And if she wanted to handle rush hour alone, well, she'd already gotten her wish.
That's where the story ends. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think of this story in the comments. Subscribe to the channel and see you next time.